This is the world's first television with 8 HDMI 2.1 ports. Now, why would you need 8 HDMI 2.1 ports and how do you achieve it? This is Samsung's flagship S95H QD OLED. This is the 77-inch model. And how they have actually achieved 8 HDMI 2.1 ports is this. There are 4 built-in HDMI 2.1 ports behind the back of this TV, but as an accessory, you can actually buy a separate wireless One Connect box and also a wireless transmitter dongle bundle. And by slotting this transmitter dongle into the back of the TV, that's my favorite thing to do. And you can get an extra 4 HDMI 2.1 ports behind the One Connect box, and obviously this is omnidirectional. You can place it almost anywhere else in your room to give you more flexibility in terms of the installation. Now, why would you need 8 HDMI 2.1 ports? The way I see it, it's a type of bragging, right? And also, you may have a Sony PS5, you may have an Xbox Series X, you may have Nintendo Switch 2, you may have a couple of soundbars or AV receivers that need connection to this TV, which, by the way, is very fantastic designed, because most OLED TVs, the conventional design is a very flat panel with a bulb at the back and then it's on a stand. Whereas Samsung has really gone to town, maybe K-pop town, with this Samsung S95H. First thing you can see that there is a metallic bezel around the frame of this TV, and they call it, the metal frame. And the concept is this: the OLED screen itself is actually floating on this metallic plate at the back, giving you a sense of immersion for the picture. And this is clearly wall mounted. And the metallic frame is actually attached to each other in a magnetic way. Obviously, I'm not going to try and detach that, on this show floor, but that is how it works. And there are also some talk about being able to change the color and also the styling of the frame as well, but we'll leave that for another day because I want to talk about the picture quality on this TV. This is using a QD OLED panel, 77-inch version. You need to know that the S95H will come in 48, 55, 65, 77 and also 83 inches. Only the 55, 65 and 77-inch S95H will be using QD OLED panel, and the peak brightness has been increased versus the S95F from last year. So this year, the S95H QD OLED is capable of 2700 nits on a 10% window and 435 nits full screen, which I think is probably going to be the brightest on the market, but a lot has to depend on the HDR tool mapping, and Samsung has done some improvement in that respect as well to try and handle the roll-off for 4000 nit HDR content in a better manner. But the other advantage of buying a Samsung QD OLED is that they are trying to still persuade people that reflections are a bad thing, and certainly I can see the argument here. It has the glare-free treatment on the front of the screen, which makes it matte, and I know some of you don't like a matte screen. But if you look at the lights here, Samsung has designed some ceiling lights and also placed some lamps behind the TV, and if we want to actually just come and walk around and see how these respective TVs are actually handling the reflection, you can clearly see the reflections on this really glossy screen. Very easy for you to actually pick out. Whereas the Samsung S95H with the glare-free coating is actually suppressing the reflections very well, allowing you to see a clearer picture, even though the black level may rise slightly, even though the contrast may drop in terms of the ambient contrast. Let's go to the other side where I will try to show you the 83-inch S95H, which is not QD OLED, but it is going to be a W OLED. So if you can follow me here, and then I'll show you across there. So this is the 83-inch S95H. It is an OLED, and because Samsung Display still hasn't produced an 83-inch QD OLED this year, this is going to be using W OLED panel from LG Display. And you can see that the matte treatment on the screen has made it look like a painting. And for the first time, Samsung is actually opening up the art store for their OLED TVs. And it is demonstrated very capably by this flagship S95H with, again, this metallic bezel around the picture that gives you that sort of immersion in terms of looking at this and thinking that it may look like a real picture. And they have partnered with lots of other brands as well, lifestyle brands, fashion brands, to try and get this crossover between fashion and also picture quality onto their flagship S95H. So for the first time, Samsung's flagship OLED TV will also come in 48 inches. This is the 48-inch S95H. It will be using a W OLED panel from LG Display because Samsung Display still doesn't produce a QD OLED panel in the screen size. You can see that it has a anti-glare coating on the front of the screen to suppress reflection, and with a central stand as well, making it semi-suitable to be used as a gaming monitor. Now, besides the flagship S95H, Samsung has also introduced the step-down S90H. And here we have it. It has the glare-free treatment on the front of the screen, which is different from last year's S90F because that has a glossy screen. Now, if you are not undecided about which OLED TV to buy, one place where you can get good advice is at Richard Sounds, a trusted British AV retailer with more than 50 stores in the UK, who provides 6 years warranty on the vast majority of TVs you purchase if you join the company's VIP club. You get the best deals through cheaper VIP exclusive in-store only prices, complimentary gifts or freebies. So go visit your local Richard Sounds store or call telesales for your next TV purchase. Thanks again for your support. Now, Samsung has released new OLED TVs at CES 2026, but they have also unveiled the world's largest single-piece television in the form of the 130-inch micro RGB TV. To find out more info about that television, please watch my coverage video by clicking here.